inang'oa nanga sasa hivi. Ungana nami Albanas Mwania, nahodha wa Safina Show, nikutoe ng'ambo ya pili hadi ufuoni. Safina Show, sauti ya matumaini.
Right. Good evening and many thanks for joining us tonight. The 28th of September, the year 2023. Indeed, you're just right on time for KUTV Primetime News. We have much and more lined up for you, including our discussion of today, and we'll be switching a little bit to matters education. And remember, every 5th of October every year, the world actually celebrates the World International Teachers Day. So we'll be taking pile and stock of expectations ahead of this the global day that teachers will be celebrating some of the milestones that they have actually achieved, even as they take a look at the hit and misses as far as the profession is concerned. And to help us unpack this will be my guest, that is Hilary Ochieng, special needs education teacher, and Okode Vena, that is English and linguistic master student. So that discussion will be coming to you in just a bit. But first thing first, our reporters have been up and running to bring you up to speed with the latest in world of politics, business and sport. And this is what to expect.
Tonight, we were forced to quit. The Cherera 4 tells the National Dialogue Committee that they were forced out of office due to difference of opinion. Assessing El Nino preparedness, Gachagua assures of government commitment to mitigate adverse effect of El Nino as he meets disaster management stakeholders. Also tonight, 10 years of service. IBM Research Lab celebrate 10 years of transforming lives and businesses through technology. Plus, after 60 years, go home. Nigeria CS Professor Kithure Kindiki maintains that all state officers must retire upon hitting 60 years.
Samuel Kelo will be assisting us in the sign language interpretation department. My name is Auma Evans. Remember, you can follow this broadcast on all of our social media platforms. We are live on YouTube at KUTV Kenya. You can tweet us at KUTV_Kenya at Auma Evans. Remember to use the hashtag Primetime News and be sure to sample all of your feedback at the tail end of the discussion. Now, the former Independent Electoral and Boundary Commission, dubbed the Cherera 4 commissioners, that is Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit, Justus Nyang'aya and Francis Wanderi, in a tell-it-all moment of truth, told the National Dialogue Committee that they were forced out of office due to a difference of opinion with the former IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati over presidential results. The Cherera Four told the National Dialogue Committee that the 2022 presidential elections were not conducted in a free and fair manner and now wants the result audited. Our very own Joseph Kess opens our bulletin tonight with that report.
The famous Cherera Four have today appeared before the National Dialogue Committee to present their views, choosing to stand their ground that the 2022 presidential elections were not properly conducted and that the results should be audited.
I want to submit that this election be audited. The servers should be opened and a forensic audit should happen. Let us put this thing to rest. After the audit, let us move on. But I will leave it to committee and the country decide.
So I will start by saying that the process of tallying and declaration of presidential results is shared between the commission and the chairperson. The role of declaring is purely the responsibility and the mandate of the chairperson of IBC. The tallying and the tabulation of the results is the role of the commissioners. And here, when I talk about the commission, I'll be talking about the commissioners.
The former commissioners say that former IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati had his own hand-picked people telling the results and that they were sidelined, an act that forced them to distance themselves from the final tally.
We were manufacturing results. And I said, Mr. Chairman, you need to organize this. And he said, I am busy right now, but I will sort it out later. It was never sorted out. We were manufacturing results. And I said, Mr. Chairman, you need to organize this. And he said, I am busy right now, but I will sort it out later. It was never sorted out.
The commissioners told the talks team that their security has been withdrawn, a development that has seen Irene Masit leave the country pending the determination of her case, which she says is still in court.
Remember, I come from Rift Valley. Before that, even they said I betrayed the community. In the Facebook, in all social media, I was saying, I've never stepped in my home since that time. I've never even gone beyond my room. That time, I got calls, people telling me to drop the case. What am I doing? So many things, but I believe it's my constitutional right because I know what I did and what I didn't do. So it is because of security reasons. I'm out of the country and we're not doing even well because even the salaries we had, they were stopped. Even the 1/3 when I'm doing the case. Good faith of our country. We want the next generation of commissioners at IBC, the people that will be handled with integrity that it deserves. And their voice will not be shut down because as commissioners, we were there in the kitchen. We know what happened. Some of these things need to be spoken in a safe space. Commissioners pass.
The other members of the now defunct IEBC Commission, Wafula Chebukati, Boya Molu, and Professor Abdi Gulie, failed to turn up for the presentation. In a joint statement dated 27th September 2023, the three say, and I quote, "We have gone through the 5 thematic areas and would like to inform you that we do not wish to make any submissions before the committee. Our decision is informed by our perspective that the issues being addressed by the committee are either within the mandate of other agencies or have been resolved by the legally mandated agencies." Joseph Kess, KUTV.
Thank you, Joseph Kess, for that. Now, elsewhere, the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties is proposing additional sanction to force compliance of party regulations by members. In its submission to the National Dialogue Committee at Bomas of Kenya, the state officer also calls for enforcement of the two-third gender rule by the political parties when settling for candidates. Former Attorney General Kutv, on the other hand, wants counties reduced to 14 and a leaner parliament. Joseph Oyomo is on that beat tonight.
Registrar of Political Parties Anne Nderitu was among a host of presenters appearing before the National Dialogue team at the Bomas of Kenya today. The state office, which is mandated to regulate and fund political parties in the country, is recommending enforcement of more sanctioned bills to show up adherence to party codes of conduct. Azimio, a party in the talks, has suffered defection by members who have since aligned themselves with the government despite legally being in opposition.
As opposed to many other code of conduct, we have a political parties code of conduct that have no sanctions. And therefore, we are proposing that the political party code of conduct should have sanction beyond the only one sanction given, which is the registration of a political party, which is a lengthy process. It cannot address the immediate issues when they arise, especially during an electoral process.
And the Jubilee Party has been the main target, as you are aware. ODM also and other opposition parties. And we are not just talking of the opposition, but even in the ruling coalition itself, we know that there are parties like Ford Kenya and ANC that are in danger or that are being arm-twisted to collapse into UDA.
Nderitu further proposes that political parties be compelled to meet the minimum gender balance in their list of candidates to meet constitutional two-third gender threshold. To stabilize its performance, Registrar of Political Parties proposes entrenchment of a 0.3% parties fund into the constitution and wants to be allowed to raise funds from the public to supplement government funding.
There's a proposal in the President's memorandum and also in the mandate of this committee about women inclusion and political parties participation fund, which a proposal is that they get hived from the political parties fund as it is. While we have no objection, we note that unless we realize the 0.3%, then there will be a lot of effect on the operations of political parties if money is hived.
In another submission, former Attorney General Kutv is pushing for a 50-50 gender balance, proposing 2 elective seats per constituency for a man and a woman.
To abolish the seat of the woman representative completely, and then to create 2 seats in every constituency, one for a woman and one for a man. In fact, we end up with 50% being women. We improve. We do better than the 30% that we already have. And that one is neat. It is achievable without much mathematics, arithmetics, and it is straightforward.
Lawyer Muigai also wants constituencies reduced to 100 and counties slashed to 14. Joseph Oyomo, KUTV.
And now switching gears to matters El Nino. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has said that the government will put in place necessary measures to mitigate the adverse effect of anticipated El Nino rains. The DP further urged farmers to harvest their farm produce on time to avert losses. Our very own Yvonne Kemuma reports on a day that Gachagua met with governors, cabinet secretaries and disaster management agencies to determine Kenya's preparedness ahead of El Nino rain.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has today held talks with county governors, cabinet secretaries and disaster management agencies in order to assess the country's preparedness for the anticipated El Nino rains. The DP expressed optimism of the country's ability to get through the rains with minimal loss of lives, as he stressed the importance of collaborating among stakeholders in developing a comprehensive mitigation plan.
We are not preparing to respond to the El Nino expected disaster. Rather, we are consolidating and refining coordination strategy for mitigation. Unlike the past, we are saving lives and livelihoods before tragedy strikes.
Gachagua urged farmers to harvest their grains and sell them early in order to protect themselves against post-harvest losses.
The weather forecast indicates that more than 20 counties across the country may face one of the heaviest rain seasons in decades, starting the month that is just about to end, and we have been told all counties.
Council of Governors Chairperson Anne Waiguru notes that the counties have been working on response mechanisms and have compiled reports that highlight key problem areas for consideration as well as estimated budgets for the mitigation measures.
And out of the 23 counties that we already have an estimation of about 8 billion shillings. You can imagine by the time the others come, we'll probably be at 15 billion shillings that will be required to fund these El Nino preparedness and response activities.
Currently, county governments have approximately 1 billion shillings for emergency funds, even as Governor Anne Waiguru made an appeal to have the National Treasury release pending funds from the county governments in good time to enable them plan in good time.
Here's the irony of this messed up reality under the climate emergency, that we're actually talking about the potential for flooding at the same time that we recognize that the drought emergency is not over. So both of those things together continue to put the emphasis on resilience programming.
The Met Department is predicting rare heavy El Nino rains across the country, a situation that might trigger flooding and its associated dangers, especially in flood-prone areas. Yvonne Kemuma, KU TV.
Now, farmers from Gatundu South, Kiambu County are counting huge losses after heavy rains that were accompanied by hailstorms lashed the area on Tuesday night, destroying their crops. The rain, which lasted 4 hours, affected tea, maize, and avocado plantations. The unfortunate turn of event coincident with the ongoing preparation for heavy El Nino rains, which are expected from this week, October, or rather from next month, October this year. Charles Kirubi with more details.
Amid expectations of heavy El Nino rains in the country, farmers from Gaitete, Kasharage, Ruburi, Mungere and Kirangi villages in Gatundu South, Kiambu County are counting losses occasioned by a heavy rainfall on Tuesday this week. According to locals, the rain began at around 3 p.m. and went on till late in the night. Many cancelled activities they had scheduled for the evening, and property was damaged as a result of the heavy downpour accompanied by hailstones.
Hiyo mvua ilipiga hiyo majani ikamwagika yote. Sasa majani chai hakuna, hatugojei. Sasa tupesa tudogo twenye tumegoja ni twenye tulifungua layo chai.
Mimea ikaharibu manyumba na ikaharibu mengi sana hapa Gaitete.
The farmers are warning of a possible hunger crisis given that most of their crops could not withstand the heavy torrents. Maize, tomatoes, avocados, kales, onions and potatoes are among the crops lost with the rains.
Avocado tena zaidi na majani ndio imeharibu sana.
Tunaomba tu Mungu isiendelee hivi.
The farmers are now calling on the county and national governments to promptly intervene to not only assess the extent of damage but also compensate them.
Hivyo tunataka serikali ichukue nafasi hii na itenge mambo ambayo itazuia hii mvua isituharibu na isituharibie mambo na isituharibie mimea.
The farmers have also called on the government to consider coming up with long-lasting solutions to avert further damage of property and livelihoods, especially now that the El Nino rains are expected in the country from October this year. Charles Kirubi, KUTV.
Now, let's see what the head of state is up to. President William Ruto has insisted that technology will play a major role in his government's effort to create job opportunities for the youth. The president, who graced the 10th anniversary of the IEBM Research Africa Lab, highlighted that Kenya has greatly benefited from technological innovations that tend to improve Kenya's economy. Listen in.
Kenya government will partner with the private sector to foster the country's digital economy. This is according to President Ruto. Ruto, who was speaking during the 10th anniversary of the IBM Research Africa Lab, made public that he is going to launch digital identification cards come next week to enhance service delivery.
And next week, I will be launching the digital ID. that will make it possible for Kenyans across our country to be digitally identified and to be able to access government services using their digital identity.
President Ruto says that the government has made a deliberate decision to use technology to enhance its policy, program and agenda in accelerating development. Ruto has also lauded technology for playing a part in combating climate change, stating it is a game changer.
We are now going to use technology not just to make sure that we keep our promise on the delivery of the planting of 15 billion trees, but it's also going to enable us to find where are we going to do it. But much more importantly, it's going to assist us in the carbon markets ecosystem.
The head of state stated that it's the responsibility of leadership to envision a future filled with possibility and solutions, the task of innovators to create that future, and it's the function of technology to bring the two together to produce a future that is safe, secure, and sustainable.
We are using technology to leverage on everything that we are doing, including assessment of students who qualify for different categories of scholarships.
The leaders present highlighted the actualization of Kenya technical potential, the efficient use of resources, and the development of an innovative culture among Kenyans will be all made possible by purposeful support of science and innovation in the delivery of government services. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
Right, it is 20 minutes past the time to take our first break here on KUTV Primetime News. Remember, when you come back, we'll be diving into our discussion of the day. It's all about matters to do with International Teachers Day. And of course, to help me unpack this will be Hilary Ocheng, the special need education teacher, and Okede Vena, English and linguistic master student. That discussion will be just up in a while. But in the meantime, let's take this short break. Plenty more to follow.
Fashionistas, get ready to level up your style game. Tune in to Fashion Diaries every Monday at 8 p.m. with me, Ashley Asach. From Kia Hills to slit suits, we've got the trends that will make you shine. Don't be left out. Join us for a fashion-filled adventure.
Nambi, I'm just saying, if you're having some doubts because the wedding is getting closer, that's okay. But you have to believe someone when they show you who they really are. Do you understand me? Be strong. Everything will be okay.
Here is to the happy couple. May the bride price make the bondage of marriage worth it. A toast to your first wife, young man, and I'm sure she won't be the last.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari
Habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
Pepo Power si vuguvugu. Pepo Power ni idea.
Sazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni duniani leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
We are all seeing the impacts of climate change. In Kenya, for example, the frequency of the floods is becoming more and worse. The amount of people and livestock we are losing.
The level we need to go is the level where the normal mwananchi and also the government stakeholders can uptake these solutions.
Those small acts multiplied by millions of us will help make a difference in the world at the end of the day.
It's just a slight behavior change that we need, and you find that it serves us a bit more than you put in. And that's the goal. We want to live a better world than we found. Because at the rate we are going, it's dire.
We will secure the planet for future generations.
Right, welcome back and thank you for keeping tabs. Now, every 5th of October, it is a day to celebrate how teachers are transforming education, but also reflect on the support they need to fully deploy their talent and vocation, and to rethink the way forward for the profession. Tonight, we are glad to be joined by by Hilary Cheng, the special needs education teacher, and Okide Vena, English and linguistic master student. Well, lady, gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. Well, tonight we'll be taking a look at one of the most basic foundation. If you ask me, every profession depends on teachers, doctors, lawyers, journalists. Ourselves, we are the product of teachers. But before we talk about the discussion of the day, I want to take your account on rather something that is happening in the education sector. I'm talking about now the proposals, or rather the task force, the proposal by the task force that were led by Professor Raphael Munawa was halted yesterday, and now the state of education, to some extent, many might argue now it's in a state of disarray. What's your count on that? And I'll begin with you, Hilary.
Okay, thank you so much. I feel that the halting of the whole process, even the CBC itself, personally I feel that it was hurried. We ought to have we ought to have a well-structured program. We ought to have planned ourselves very well as a country, so that when we are implementing a program like CBC is a good program, but I feel that it was hurried, and even the reforms that were halted yesterday, I was in agreement with the Parliament, and I feel they did a good job. Let's go back to the drawing board as a country. We plan ourselves so well, and then we do what is necessary.
Okay. Yeah. And Vena, before I come to you, what were some of the the contentious issues that maybe you thought probably with this new curriculum, I'm talking about the CBC, maybe they were not quite considered before they were actually implemented? What were some of these, areas or rather issues that you thought maybe things did not work the way you had expected?
CBC, first of all, the way I said it was a very good program. But I felt, first of all, if we have a program like that,
right,
it is important first to empower teachers. You train teachers, then you allocate resources for it. We hurried in implementing it. There was no good teacher training, awareness, resources for the parents. Right now it is a burden to parents. And then teachers, majority of teachers, they are still in 844. They don't even understand the system. They are not even given in-service training. So far, I don't think it was a good program. But if we had planned well as a country, as the implementers, those who are tasked with implementing the program, then at least now we could be somewhere. But now, see, they wasted time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate.
Okay, thank you. Vina, what's your take on yesterday's decision by the National Assembly to actually halt the ongoing process?
Yeah, I think they did a really good job. I was very happy when I heard that it was suspended for a bit, because even the CBC, when it was brought, even the teachers themselves did not quite understand what was going on. But they are just doing it for the sake of it. The students, they were in the 844 system, and now the transition was quite hard for them. And I believe the halt, they have to go back to the drawing board and rethink about it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, now let's face the elephant in the room. You're talking about the World Teachers' Day. Well, and today's, this year's theme is quite very interesting. The teachers we need for education we want. Has teaching lost its meaning?
Yeah, I feel that as a profession, we need to do a lot.
Okay.
As teachers, I feel that the world has left us behind.
All right.
Yeah, starting from training, from remuneration, payment, and even resources. As an education sector, I feel teachers are not well equipped in terms of training. I feel teachers are not well paid. The moment they are not well paid, the motivation is down, and that translates to the classroom.
Right.
So as a country and even globally, we have to rethink and see a way that we can restructure ourselves so that we bring back the glory in the teaching profession.
Okay. Yeah. Talking about bringing back the glory, Vena, you remember this particular theme has been, necessitated by the fact that there has been some sort of decline in the number of teachers. This is globally. Well, the issues, and this is whatever is happening around the world is something that is happening even here in Kenya and Africa. And now the stakeholders are concerned about how can they actually, bring now the education where it used to be, or rather to where they want it to be. When you look at the decline, and of course there's are key stakeholders in this, what is your take on this? How is the best way we can actually, advance education and actually bring the sanity in something that we're already seeing, the sanity eroding in some way?
Okay, thank you. So I believe that the education that we need is an holistic education, inclusive, and a high-quality education, whereby our students will be equipped with the skills from the 21st century. The education that we need is one that will go away from the traditional academics. We need education that students will be able to develop the skills of decision-making, creativity, as well as they'll be able to learn from their teachers and get to understand the concept, unlike before.
All right.
Yeah.
Of course, in light of all this, the challenges, I want us to focus on the possibility, or rather the positive aspect of this day that will be celebrated on 5th of October. Well, one might argue, as a teacher, and this begs the question, what is the significance of this day? Why should teachers actually celebrate this particular day from teachers' point of view?
Thank you so much. I feel it's a very, very important day for teachers. Number one, creating awareness.
All right.
We are going to create awareness. Everyone will know their role in the work of teachers and how they transform the society. Teachers play a key role in the society. Again, we are going to highlight the challenges that we are facing as a teacher or as teachers in our profession. So if we highlight the challenges, it will be easier for us to look for solutions for those challenges. We cannot just sit back and cry without looking for the solution. So when we have a day like this, specifically if it's global, we know most of the challenges of teachers cut across, but we have specific ones that touches on us here as a country, Kenya. So I feel that we need to practice it, and I like the way this year it has been organized. Me as a special needs teacher, I learned that this time round, when we will be celebrating our special needs, when we will be celebrating our Teachers Global Day,
all right,
we will have even learners with disability participating.
Okay.
And Treeside, as one of our high school for the deaf, will be presenting a folk song in sign language.
Okay.
They will also be dancing, and they will also give us a poem in sign language.
Okay.
So I think it will be a wonderful experience, and I want to encourage everyone. Let's come out. Let's not cry. Let's come out and let's support the teaching professions to make it a noble profession the way it used to be.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about the inclusivity. When you talk about now that you are a special need teacher, we'll talk about that later on and how best we can deal with this. Now, when as a stakeholders, critical, and based on this, I can see you're a student. When I listen to what is happening globally, the decline in number of teachers, and you're training to be one of them, does it some way discourage you to actually venture into this particular profession?
I don't think it does, because I'm on my own journey.
All right.
Maybe I'm here to bring the change that we need. So I'm not discouraged in any way, but I'm looking forward to maybe having things change for the better.
All right. Now, talking about looking forward, so what is your expectation in this year's, World International Teachers Days? What are some of the agenda that you would really like to be part of the discussion?
Okay. I would love that when we'll be celebrating the World Teachers Day, at least we have teachers' concerns highlighted. We need to have the learners' concerns highlighted, and we need to have more information disseminated so that this population and the world are aware of all the challenges, the possibilities, and the solutions we can get as teachers in this profession.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for you, Vena, what is the expectation this time around?
Yeah, the World Teachers Day is there to celebrate teachers, to create awareness, and we are given a platform to advocate for change and improvement. So I'll be looking forward to see how things go on that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, now, talking about now the platform, and this is actually the biggest platform. Remember, when I began, I mentioned about the importance of this day and why people actually celebrate it. One of the key areas is rather to take a look at the success, the failures, and the best way forward on how to advance on this. And when we look at the global phenomenon, the issues that to do with teachers all over the world, we have seen even here in Kenya, we have our own fair share of challenges. Some might say we are understaffed in terms of teacher to student ratio. When you look at all these challenges, and now there is a platform, an opportunity now to actually voice your concern. And you remember I begin by asking, what is your expectation now in terms of this area? Where do you think we should pay more emphasis?
Thank you. I feel that I give a big share to the government. I think they need to avail a lot of resources for this profession. The emphasis should be on support in terms of payment, hiring of new teachers, and availing resources that are necessary and needed by learners.
All right.
So that we can propel this profession upward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and for you, Vena?
Yeah, I believe that we really need the government commitment. for us to achieve everything, the government must provide all the necessary resources that are needed. For example, we have the issue of overcrowding in classes. You may find a situation whereby we have up to 70 students in a class with one teacher, and a teacher may fail to have individualized attention for the students. So you find that students are really missing out. So they must step in, and they have to either build more classrooms or employ more teachers, because we have almost half are employed and half are not. The current statistics show that over 300,000 teachers are there, and they are trained, but they are not employed.
Right.
So the government must come in and they must employ teachers for us to change the way it is at the moment.
All right.
Yes.
Well, now talking about the teachers' welfare, students' welfare, all this. Now this reminds me about the UNESCO. Some of the recommendations that were made, and this actually cuts across all the nations across the world. Well, here in Kenya, I don't want to comprehend, or rather to prehement whatever it is, or rather I just do want to dwell in it first. But let me just ask you about this. Well, some of the recommendations that were put forward, it is probably over 30 years down the line. Do you think, or rather how have we fared on those proposals that were made?
Thank you so much. As a country, when I'm trying to do an assessment on the UNESCO recommendations, I learned a lot of them at my undergraduate level. But now when I was teaching and comparing the implementation part of the government, I think we've tried, but not much. If I start with number one, the teacher-student ratio, it's still wanting. It's wanting. In normal schools, I've been in normal schools, just like Vena said, we could have one teacher teaching 75 students or pupils. So tell me, here we have three categories. We have GT, gifted and talented. We have slow learners, average learners.
Okay.
So you, as a teacher, you need to attend to all these learners, and you need to meet them at their point of need. You need to give them individualized services. So how will you do? And you have been given 40 minutes to implement your lesson plan. Practically, it's not possible. Meaning we will continue lagging behind. So we've tried, but we've not done much. Even if you take that to even in special schools, the recommendation was 1 to 15 at most. Just do a spot check on those special schools. You'll be worried, my friend. So I think we have tried, but we need to do more. Concerning even in inclusion, even in the tertiary institution, I think KU has tried to integrate special needs. They have tried to modify the environment for them, but we still need to do a lot in line with those recommendations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then the recommendations of the UNESCO, it's fair to say you are still, lagging behind, and we still have a long way to go. But why is it taking so long, for some of the countries, not only here in Kenya, but around the globe, to actually implement this? Are they too demanding, or just what is happening?
I don't want to be misquoted, but I think the resources are not there.
Okay.
I believe teachers, students, or the schools do not get the adequate resources so that these recommendations can be achieved. So we are still very far behind, but it's never too late. Maybe things will get better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talking about things getting better now, let's talk about the inclusivity part of it. As a special need, teacher, and still in line with the UNESCO, some of this is to bring actually equity in education. Well, as a specialist in this area, do you think it's still an area that we are still struggling, or based on the progress, we are somewhere?
I won't say we are somewhere, but I'll say we are struggling. Let me use your first term.
Okay.
We are still struggling. If I do a checkup on most of the special schools, I've moved around 98% of special schools in Nairobi, and the majority of them are in Nairobi. And I've tried to do a bit of analysis of on how services are being rendered in those schools, and I feel that we are still way behind. If I start, for example, with the hearing impaired, mostly you realize that the kind of even curriculum adaptation, it's not even conducive for them. For them even to be assessed, it's very hard. Even the assessment materials are given to regular teachers to mark, and even the way their language is different. When it comes to the blind, I feel there's a big problem, because we realize that mostly in terms of assessment, in terms of orientation and mobility, they are still lagging behind. So I think if we go in line with the UNESCO recommendations, the government should put in or pull up the socks and at least provide enough resources. We can avail these resources like Braille, the current softwares for the blind, so that they can learn. We can give them the prints, large prints. They don't have even enough. We employ enough teachers. They also need professionals in those schools. Like even for the deaf, we need audiologists. How many audiologists are there? They're not there. So we end up getting misplacements. Learners are just taken to deaf schools without proper assessment, so that we can do them. We can do what is called placement. They also recommended mainstreaming. I think we tried mainstreaming, that we didn't get it right. The reason why we didn't get it right is that we didn't train regular teachers on how to care for special needs teachers, special needs learners. So there was a bit of confusion, and then we ended up still floating somewhere. So I think we need to, as a country, we need to change our policies. We need to rethink, reevaluate, and then look for ways at which you can improve and be in line with those recommendations.
Well, then you might not be an expert in this, this field, but how do we break the barriers? Because the challenges seem to be quite enormous. How do we break the barriers to make sure that education is for all and there is the equity aspect of it? Because at the end of the day, that is the goal.
Yeah, I believe we should train more teachers on the specific fields. We should have teachers who are well familiar. For example, when we come to special needs, we should have enough teachers who are well familiar with that field, who can easily understand the students. Because let us say, for example, the special needs students, I believe they require one-on-one interaction with teachers. And you may find that the teachers are there, but the government, I don't know if they don't want to employ them or the resources are not there to do that, but they are really lagging behind on that. So I believe they should, just the issue of resources, they should keep supplying us with the necessary resources that we need, so that we may have an inclusive education for all. Yeah.
Well, I want us to switch gears to now, because this is a global issue, and there is some rankings that were done, and quite to surprise of many, actually, in Africa, we are among the top 10 countries in terms of, education. Kenya is ranked 7. I think it's Seychelles that is ranked top. And I want us to take, a comparison between the two countries, the Seychelles and Kenya, the top and 7th place. Well, when you look at the education policy, it's not, there's no big difference between Kenya and, of course, Seychelles, because we have free education to some point, especially for free primary. I hear it's secondary, but not that fully free. And when you look at our education curriculum, even though we have some few issues that we need to iron out, but to some disparities, there is something that is almost similar to there. But the big question is, what does it take to actually reach that level?
Okay, thank you. So far, for a very long time, Kenya, we have been ranked alongside South Africa
Okay.
Even in terms of special education. In Africa, South Africa, and Kenya, some are top. But that does not mean that we are the best. We still have a lot to do. For us to reach the top, we need to invest in education.
Okay.
Holistically. We need to see a teacher as a holistic person, a well-trained teacher, well-paid and motivated. That will translate to the classroom.
Okay.
The moment that translates to the classroom, you know the outcome will be perfect. So we need to, first of all, we need to lay strategy. We can even develop policies on how we can align ourselves so that we can improve. We can surpass. I believe we can surpass all these countries, even US.
Okay.
We just need the will. The will is, as a country, let's diagnose and assess where is our problem, where is our weaknesses. After pinpointing those weaknesses, how can we solve them? Maybe if our weaknesses are resources, are the government allocating enough resources for education sector? Maybe it's not enough resources. Then how can we add the resources?
Okay.
These resources, if they've been allocated, are they used well in the education sector? How can we seal the loopholes of wasted resources? Okay. Then from there we'll be able to sit down with enough resources. Then we see how we can propel ourselves as a country.
Okay.
Then we even surpass all the countries.
All right. Because we are running out of time, I'll give you as your closing remark. So kindly can proceed.
Yeah, so I believe teachers play a very pivotal role in terms of education. They are the cornerstone of our education system, and therefore we have to ensure that the well-being of for the well-being of our teachers, because the well-being of our teachers will ensure the well-being of our nation. Yes.
All right. Thank you. 30 seconds for your closing remarks.
Thank you. I will want to encourage everyone, come out on 5th. Let's celebrate the teachers. Let's celebrate as a country globally so that we change our profession. We want to make teaching profession to be the noble one it used to be.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Hilary Oching, special need, education teacher, and Okede Vena, English and linguistic master student. Thank you so much for making time. Well, we take another yet short break. When we come back, we'll be diving into more stories. See you in just a bit.
I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the Cafe project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Eva Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Baada ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu.
Kwa vijana wenzangu, wengi hawana kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili
bila uoga. Watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi, hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
welcome back, and now it's time to take a look at the latest in the world of sports. Now, Electronic Sports Federation, better known as the eSport Federation, elected the new official into office after holding their first election since the formation of the federation in 2018. Ronnie Lusigi was elected as the federation's president after garnering 23 votes against Mwaniki Mwanzia, who had 4 votes, while John Ojiembo and Anne Odhiambo were elected as the first and second vice president respectively. Helen Kairu will be the federation's treasurer, while Amardasik Mohammed and Elisha Kiplangat were elected unopposed as Secretary General and Organizing Secretary, respectively. The federation is a member of the Global eSport Federation, and the election observers were drawn from Ministry of Sports, the Registrar of Sports, and the Kenyan National Sports Council. Now switching gears to some football action. Last season's Carabao Cup finalist Newcastle United are through to the 4th round of the EFL, that is Carabao Cup, after kicking out the English Premier League champions Manchester City in a 1-0 win at the St. James Park Stadium, courtesy of Alexander Isak's strike in the second half. Liverpool also proceed after coming from behind to win 3-1 against Leicester City at Anfield, while Chelsea and Arsenal also booked their round 4 ticket after 1-0 win against Brighton and Brentford, respectively. Now from football to rugby, Uruguay registered their first win in Group A of the 2023 World Rugby Cup after thrashing Namibia 36-26 at the Group Panama Arena in Lyon, France. Baltaz Amaya, Jermaine Hasler, Santiago Arata, and Batistas Basco scored for Uruguay, as Baswin Motan and JC Gredling scored for Namibia, who are yet to win a single match in the tournament. In tonight's Group D action, Japan will take on Samoa at the Tulis Arena from 10 p.m. East Africa time. Alright, you are now up to date with the latest in the world of politics, business, sports, and of course our big interview, just the way I had promised you, and I've lived up to my expectation and my end of bargain. And with that, we mark the end of our bulletin tonight. Many thanks for tuning in and for all those who made this production a success. My name is Auma Evans. Samuel Kelo has been my co-pilot tonight. Until next time, it's a bye-bye and God bless you.
Kutoka kuwa jamii ya kuhamahama na sasa kujumuisha kilimo katika mitindo yao ya maisha. Kwenye toleo la kaunti ya Narok, hii ni Boresha Kilimo, kwani afya bora ni kilimo bora.
Kwani kilimo ndicho huboresha maisha.
Kaka mtazamaji, popote ulipo, unapokuwa ukitazama Safina Show
inang'wananga sasa hivi. Ungana nami Albanas Mwania, nahodha wa Safina Show, nikutoe ng'ambo ya pili hadi ufuoni. Safina Show, sauti ya matumaini.
Baada ya kutafuta kazi, tunaweza kuanzisha miradi yetu ambayo ingetusaidia kubadilisha maisha ya wazazi wetu.
Kwa vijana wenzangu, wengi hawana kazi, lakini ikiwa sisi wenyewe tutajiamini, tunaweza kujiajiri wenyewe.
Afrika kwa kweli tuna mahitaji ambayo ukiyasuluhisha unaweza kuathiri watu kwenye bara hili
bila woga. Watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi, wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi, hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
Bajuka ni kama unarusha mikono, tingisha kichwa chungu sivute kisogo. Mbona nyinyi na wawasha nkikula nyama choma tu firifiri na
niko na pesa kushinda babake.